Hello and welcome back to Live, Laugh, Stuck. And if you couldn't tell, this is a filler episode. This is the part 2 and final part of my Gaystuck remastering. And by remastering, I mean compilation with a little bit of editing, but not as much because I can't find the original actual files and I only have the rendered files to edit. Also, a reminder for Gaystuck, for those of you who weren't around when it came out or maybe didn't listen from the beginning. For one, this is a series where I look at characters who are gay and homostuck. No, I analyze characters through the lens of them being gay, and I already did a part 1 where I remastered and compiled everything, where I was actually reading through the comic, and this is from when I was just sitting down and discussing some individual characters. I just picked out some that I thought I had something to say about their general queerness, but I could probably make one about every Homestuck character and keep this going forever. Which I guess if you want me to talk about any particular character, bring this back up just to say, hey, you forgot about my Blorbo? I'll talk about your Blorbo, maybe. I mean, you can always ask. It also came out before the epilogues came out, so if you're listening to this 6 years after the original episode's released, and you're like, oh, this is weird that this isn't referencing a thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it didn't happen like that in that order. And also, some of my opinions have changed on a few matters. Not a lot. I mean, you can still trust like most of my general opinions here, but just I guess for a fun behind the scenes, I had to edit out me being extremely like weird and apologetic about headcanoning Vriska as bisexual. Like, she's bisexual in the comic. She is. You can headcanon her as a lesbian, but she's bisexual in the comic, and that was just not a thing you could say back in 2019. You know, you had to couch it and all this stuff. So if any of that comes across as weird, that's why. It was just a different culture back then, and I had different feelings on how to approach that back then. I think most notably of interest to me is enjoy me pre-starting testosterone. If you haven't listened to my old episodes in a while, that sure was a trip for me to listen to. But enough preamble. Let's get on with it and just listen to several sections in a row of me just really trying to get you to ship John Dave Cat.
So, the big thing with John is he kind of spent his whole time moving the plot forward and not really discovering himself like Rose and Dave got the chance to when they were on the Meteor. So, John is stuck in this mindset where he just says that he's not a homosexual, and that's a part of his identity. Not being straight, but being not a homosexual. And it's really obvious that he doesn't have a lot of experience with this. I mean, he's 13. So I'm trying to do this through the lens of, you know, him being 13 and then 16 towards the end. And he is confronted with the fact that Vriska might like him. Like him. And he doesn't know what to do with it. He has no idea what to do with a girl liking him. He has no idea if he likes her back. He has no idea what to do if he did like her back or anything like that. He's just very inexperienced. He doesn't think he's ever liked a girl before. It's really just like he has crushes on some celebrities, but he doesn't actually understand like anything beyond that. Because yeah, we see him have a crush on certain celebrities, but we basically like certain female celebrities, but we see him have a crush on male celebrities as well, even if he doesn't recognize it as that. Even when he's confronted with the fact that it's a man bro crush, like it's still a legitimate crush. I mean, he calls McConaughey charming, and he says he has a shrine to McConaughey, and he says that McConaughey has a beautiful face. And whenever he's watching Con Air and he sees Nick Cage, he gets hard eyes. He kisses his Nick Cage poster, for crying out loud. Like, he has legitimate crushes on male celebrities as well, But he only focuses on the fact that he likes female celebrities, so he's definitely not a homosexual. And we kind of see him have this mindset of not really thinking outside of how he wants to view himself whenever he's confronted with the fact that he has some black feelings for Terezi, or what certainly sound like black feelings. Karkat does a good job of convincing him, like, yeah, this is how black feelings play out. This is how they go down. It's a really classic case you have here. And instead of acknowledging that and trying to see things from that different point of view, he says, cool, I'm never going to think about this again. I'm just going to shove this down and never think about it again. And that's how he is. We kind of see this obliviousness, and going back to the female celebrities, we kind of see that with his counterpart, Jane, who, when confronted with the fact that Dirk likes Jake, she gets kind of confused, like, no, but Jake won't be able to do anything back because he has crushes on female celebrities, so that's that. And so it's really, I guess, just an Egbert Crocker thing to be kind of dense about it like that. And we'll definitely talk more about that in future episodes. But yeah, so there's just a certain way in which John views the world and views himself, and that is that he is not homosexual. He doesn't, I don't think, realize that there's an option outside of straight and gay. And it really messes with him when he starts to figure out that Dave likes Karkat. Whenever he's figuring that out, like, he's kind of taken it back. He doesn't know how to handle it. He doesn't know how to respond to it. It's kind of confusing for him. And mirror that with him saying that Rose and Kanaya make a cute couple. Like, Dave is obviously a reflection of his own feelings, and Dave being able to confront them and say that, yeah, no, like, I definitely like boys, especially since Dave was supposed to be like some sort of very specific idea of masculinity. And so being able to like boys while still like having had that persona, and John still thinking that he's really cool and everything, like it's very hard for John to kind of comes to grips with that. And that's also because like he definitely has a crush on Dave. He calls Dave attractive, and even though he says he's joking, and like it still, methinks she doth protest too much. He couldn't just let a joke lie as it was, that really obvious one, but like he has to make sure that he knows, is like, no, I'm just joking. I definitely don't find you attractive. But then later on, he can't stop thinking about Dave Sprite's butt. Like, he can't stop imagining it. And Dave Sprite's butt is basically Dave's butt in that sense. And whenever he's talking to Rose, like, he brings up Dave, and Rose is like, let's get back on track. But he still goes back and keeps talking about Dave. He calls a bunch of things that Dave does cute. Well, primarily he calls it cute whenever Dave interacts with the mayor. And he does have, like, serious feelings for his friends. Like, even just on the friendship level, like, John writes a really heartfelt letter to Dave about how much he cares about him. And he jokes and he calls Dave gay in that letter, and is like, well, yeah, you were kind of right about that. And he cares a lot about Dave. And even when imagining him in, like, hey, I need to go talk to Dave, does he just think about a picture of Dave? Like, just a regular, like, this is Dave. No, he imagines one of Dave's ironic selfies where he's kind of, like, laying sideways. And it's just, John has a lot of unresolved feelings for Dave, for sure. And that's another thing that's kind of brought into question whenever he finds out that Dave does like boys. Or he starts to get the suspicion for it, even though he doesn't have those suspicions confirmed yet. Like, they're still there. There's still a thing that's messing with him. And when it comes to Karkat, John definitely likes Karkat. I mean, he calls Karkat his favorite troll. He doesn't like Karkat in the same way that Karkat liked John. But he still calls Karkat his favorite troll. He still genuinely loves talking to Karkat. And whenever Jade is like, yeah, I had to talk to two of them at the same time, John's like, that sounds amazing. I would love to talk to two Karkats at the same time. And even though, you know, he has to do the whole, oh, I'm not a homosexual thing, like, it's still very clear that he, like, generally just really likes Karkat and thinks a lot of Karkat and thinks he's hilarious. Yeah, and, it's something that, I mean, I don't want to go talking about my OT3, because that's not what this is about, but I definitely see there being potential for, Dave, John, and Karkat to all kind of get together and hash about their feelings, even if Karkat doesn't completely understand it, because, in his society, there's no hesitation about two boys liking each other. So yeah, really just John, I really hope gets time to figure that out while he's on Earthsea. He doesn't have to worry about saving Paradox Space. He can just think, he can learn more about troll culture, which is what helped Dave come to terms with liking boys. And he can figure out that it's okay for him to like boys too. And I just really want a lot for John, and I want him to sit back and think about his feelings instead of just kind of shoving them aside so he can continue on with his own idea of how he should act. I don't know, I'm kind of sad that we don't get gay John at the end, but I have hope for the future, and I have plenty of headcanons about it, so yeah, John just definitely has a lot of unresolved feelings. Hi, and welcome back to Jack's Does Homestuck Gaystuck Edition. This time we are going to be talking about Dave. So when Dave starts out, it's kind of obvious there's something there about his sexuality. We have Rose calling out him potentially being gay by, like, oh, well, you're not playing this game with me, so you must be gay, LOL. But Dave kind of, like, protests, like, oh, no, look, I'm just busy, okay? Definitely not gay. And then in his conversation with Tavros, we have Tavros calling it out. It's like, hey, I'll talk to you again whenever you don't have all these bees in your bonnet about your human sexuality. And there's just, a couple other points like that as well. And so he starts out as this, like, definitely not gay, but we can tell that there's something there. Just how it goes on and develops is nice. One of the things I really like about Dave's arc is he's supposed to be this masculine dude. It's a very specific sort of masculinity, but he's supposed to kind of encompass it. He's performing it in a certain way, but he is definitely trying to perform it. He's the cool guy, is basically what he's trying to be. And we definitely see that when we get towards the end, and he talks about kind of the society that he grew up in and the role that he was pushed to take on. And then we have his conversations with John, where he implies that John is attracted to him, and John says that he definitely is, and Dave just says thank you back. He wants to be super cool to John. He wants to maintain that image of masculinity, but, like, specifically for John and not anyone else. He will willingly admit to Rose that he does not like puppets, that he is getting very tired of puppets, but he maintains the facade that he loves puppets with John. And whenever he's like, yeah, I need to see what's up with John, he says, I love him. Like, he straight up says, I love him. I don't know if the intention was to be, like, over the top about it in a funny way, or to show that he really does care about his friends, but he just straight up says he loves John, and Rose just says, I know. And going back to the persona that he wants John to specifically see is Terezi knows that when it comes to his embarrassing way of entering the game, it's only John he cares about not knowing about that, and Terezi promises not to tell John about that. It's just, and Terezi references that he talks about John a lot. Gotta beat John, gotta keep up with John. John did this, and I gotta do that too. But more than that, he just really cares about John as a friend. John gave him his sunglasses, and when he thought that they had cracked, he was super upset about that. Whenever Grimbark Jade comes and can smell that John had just been there, the most believable excuse he could come up with is that he sprayed John smelling perfume around him. Like, that's what he goes with to tell a semi-believable lie. He just really loves John so much, and even towards the end, whenever John admits that he gets annoyed by people sometimes, Dave worries that it's him. Like, are you annoyed by me? And he's assured that, no, I mean, sometimes, but not really. And just kind of reassures Dave. And it's really nice just seeing how much he genuinely cares about John and how much he loves John. And then we sort of getting into him with Karkat, like even before we have him on the Meteor during that second run through of those 3 years, it's pretty obvious that there's being comparisons made there, that there's being hinting at a future relationship. Terezi points this out a couple of times by saying how alike they are in kind of a smartassy and kind of stubborn way. Blunt and literal-minded is some other term she uses, and it's just really reminds me of, I mentioned this in the episode where this came up as well, but it really reminds me of a post I saw on Tumblr where it's like, if you change out a lot of Dave and Karkat's dialogues as to which one is capitalized or not, it's hard to tell the difference. Then we have Karkat showing how much he knows Dave already, despite not really focusing on Dave that much as a human to troll, whenever he's luring Dave to the memo that he wants to talk about, hey, be careful with these trolls hitting on you, like, don't get into it. He lures him in with shitty clip art. Like, Karkat just knows. Karkat just knows that's what will get Dave. And Dave, I mean, it's ironically, but he says Karkat's fucking incredible. Like, he's cracking up at Karkat. Surely it's at Karkat's expense at that point in time. But, I mean, there's just such a connection between Dave and Karkat before, the 3-year period where they get together. The reset, or whatever it is we call it in the fandom. And even when, Karkat's just talking to Dave, like during the first run through on the Meteor, Karkat's talking about how he's a fan of someone that Dave doesn't like, and it's like, you're just doing this to piss me off. Like, he's constantly pointing out all these connections that they have. And it kind of falls into some Black Rum stuff for a bit. But, like, there's literally a point where Dave draws Karkat riding a dick. Like, he literally just draws that. And really, there's just so much between Dave and Karkat, even in the first run through, where he takes on some of his habits and stuff like that. He just spends so much time with Karkat. He just really has such a fun time with Karkat, and I just love how their relationship develops. And like Vriska says, it's adorable, whatever quadrant they wound up in, which I like. I don't know if it's just fandom interpretation or kind of how it is, that they're kind of in multi-quadrants. But what it really comes down to is whenever Dave does figure out that he likes Karkat, and just kind of being around the trolls in general, he has this sort of realization about what's going on with the society he was raised in, and he tries to explain to John how masculinity is fake and stupid, and the roles that they were trying to emulate growing up don't actually mean anything, especially now that their planet's gone. It didn't mean anything before, but especially now, the society they're raised in no longer exists. And, they know trolls, someone from a completely different culture, to just show how little those roles meant. He's trying to explain to John, and John kind of picks up what he's putting down, but not what he's literally putting down, and instead just sees the fact that it's like, oh, so you're gay now, basically. Which is what Dave is kind of saying, but also he's just trying to make it where John understands too, and where John doesn't have to be trapped by, like, societal expectations that, for a society that no longer exists, and kind of help him grow up and grow out of that, and just kind of go on to some self-discovery. And I just really like Dave kind of recognizing that. And I also like the conversation between Dave and Dirk, where Dave realizes Dirk also likes guys, and it kind of makes him question and wonder what's going on with that. And then, like, he straight up asks him, he's like, well, how'd you come out to your friends? Because that's something that he's gonna have to come across, because he felt he had something with Jade. He has always been this sort of cool guy, like I was saying earlier, this sort of persona of masculinity, that now it's different. And it's changed, and he's just figuring out how to work around it, and how to tell the people that he cares about that, like, yeah, hey, Jade and John, I like boys now. And yeah, I really wish I got that conversation, how Dirk did come out and sort of how that conversation went down. But hey, we get to have our own headcanons now that we don't actually get it. And I really hope Dave helps John come to realize how gay he is. I know I said that in the last episode, but Dave loves John so much. Even if he's with Karkat now, he still really loves John. And he really cares about John. And he's really trying to get John to break out of his assigned role as not being homosexual. And just the evolution of Dave from stereotypical ironic cool guy to still kind of an ironic cool guy but who's also into dudes, and just like performing certain aspects of masculinity to saying fuck it, it's all fake and doesn't matter. But so that's basically what we have for Dave, and his I'm really glad with, because we do actually see him, unlike with John, who we don't get that actual gay arc with, we just get like the hints at it. With Dave, we actually do, is like he is into dudes at the end. Like we do see that he's in a canonical gay relationship at the end of Homestuck. Hey, welcome back to Jax Does Homestuck, Gaystuck edition, and we're going over Rose today. Now, Rose, I don't have as much content for. I don't have as much to talk about as I did for Dave or John. And that's just because Rose it's pretty straightforward. We don't get to see her struggling with her identity or whether she accepts it or not or anything like that. We just, like, we don't know. Like, maybe at the very start she knew she liked girls, so it wasn't a surprise when she started liking Kanaya. Maybe later on is when she realized it, and that's why she was over preparing for the date. You know, whatever the reason, we don't know. So we can only imagine. And I a lot of times tend to prefer imagining Rose just already knew she liked girls. I'm not sure it's ever clarified, like, word of God or whatever, but Rose just seems like a lesbian who just always knew that she was a lesbian. And that's kind of what I stick with. But we get to see, outside of the relationship with Kanaya, which everyone knows about, everyone loves, it ends in a big gay wedding, which is fantastic. But outside of that, we also see her attracted to some other girls as well. We see her attracted to Mina whenever they're in that dream world, and she has the gayest look on her face. And yeah, we get to see her like complimenting Mina, like, "Ooh, I like your braids," and just staring her down. And we get to see her slip up and call Jane John's hot mom, and then do it on purpose when she is now Jasper Sprite, which Rose Jasper Sprite, fulfilling the gay agenda, immediately, like almost immediately goes and basically makes a potential girlfriend, like brings Nepeta back to life, like specifically to date her, which it kind of sucks because Rose Jasper Sprite realizes that, you know, now that she's a sprite, like there's a real Rose, or, you know, a Rose that gets to be with Kanaya, and she had to watch Kanaya die. She had to watch Kanaya die and not be able to tell her that she loved her, and now she's able to see a living Kanaya, but there is a living Rose that Kanaya gets to be with. And yeah, so it's very sad, so I definitely understand, like, immediately being like, well, especially now that she's a cat and doesn't have the same sort of impulse control as Rose does, then just immediately being like, yeah, let me make myself a cat girlfriend. Which she gets kind of pushy about it, but she does keep checking in to make sure that Nepeta is okay with it being a date. So I definitely appreciate that, even though, again, she's a little bit like, yeah, so this date, it's okay if it's a date, right? Yeah, so this date. It's just very cute, and I definitely appreciate that. And I just appreciate there being, like, other cases of Rose definitely being attracted to girls, so people can't just say that, oh, it's just a one-off that she likes Kanaya. That's not how she is overall. It's just the one girl that she likes. No, she finds other girls attractive too. And yeah, unfortunately I don't have a lot more to say on the matter. I really like Rose. I like talking about Rose. I love Rose and Kanaya. It's just hard for me to engage with because Rose and Kanaya did so much that I wanted from media, you know? It's like, I got everything I wanted. Can I ask for anything else? Is there anything else I can ask for? And I know there are plenty of people out there who do talk about it more and write some great fics and everything like that. But for me, I'm kind of in that stunned state. I'm like, okay, well, I shipped them. And then they got together. That's canon. And then they got married, and now they're raising, like, a bunch of little troll babies together. I mean, I'm not so into the raising troll babies part, because I really love Rose and Kanaya a lot, and the fact that I relate to them, except for when it comes to the whole motherhood aspect, which I realize is a big part of especially Kanaya's character. But anyway, so I really love both Rose and Kanaya. I relate to them both a lot. Yeah, I just really wish I had more to say about them, but unfortunately when it comes to them, like, everything I could have wanted is fulfilled. I don't know, like, it's not the perfect relationship. Rose gets insecure and gets drunk before their date, and then Kanaya doesn't realize it's a date, and yeah, like I said, it's not perfect, but it had everything I wanted. That's why I have a hard time writing any fic for them, just because it's like, well, I got most everything I wanted in canon. It's there. We got a canon kiss and everything. Much, obviously we got the canon kiss, we got the wedding, but you know what I mean. Before the wedding came about, we got that kiss, and that was fantastic for me, let me tell you what. Hey, welcome back to Jax Does Homestuck, Gaystuck Edition. My name is Jackie, or Jax, and today we're talking about Kanaya. There's a little bit more, I think, to talk about than I had with Rose, but it's pretty much going to go about the same way. So with Kanaya, she has two main gay relationships that are important. I mean, really just the two. She has Vriska and she has Rose. Vriska was very painful to a lot of people, I'm sure, because it's that unrequited love that, yeah, we're friends, but this isn't the sort of relationship I want from her. Like, I want a romantic relationship, which, I mean, with trolls, it is still romantic, but she wants the flushed romantic relationship with. And she never gets that, and she, meddles in Vriska's affairs, and she tries to help out, and she ends up getting caught up in more allegiance and auspicism, I think. Anyway, words don't mean anything, and she ends up helping Vriska try to, I guess, seduce Tavros. She's, like, really brokenhearted about that, and it's really tough for her, that whole arc of liking Vriska and not being able to do anything about it, not being able to tell Vriska about it, but everyone knows except for Vriska, basically. When Vriska does sense something is wrong with Kanaya, she assumes it's because Kanaya likes Tavros, which is super not the case. It's just one of those unfortunate things that Vriska doesn't start to appreciate Kanaya in the way that Kanaya wanted her to until Kanaya's over her, basically, and is then crushing on Rose, which I believe she had a bit of a crush on while she was still crushing on Vriska, but it was more of this is a person I'll never meet and not a actual romance option. And then with Rose, it's pretty straightforward. She definitely has a crush on Rose from the beginning. She has such admiration for her. She's so let down whenever she thinks Rose isn't what she built her up to be, and feels kind of embarrassed for kind of the image that she had in her mind of Rose. Even whenever she does figure out the real Rose, it's like, well, I had you up on this really high pedestal because of the thing you wrote that I read. And yeah, and they just end up falling into a pretty good relationship, even though neither of them realize that's what it is for a bit. Whenever Mina asks her about it, she says Rose is maybe her girlfriend. But they are girlfriends, and it is great, and they get gay married, and then they raise a whole bunch of troll babies together, and it's fantastic, and I really love that arc, and I'm really glad that she was able to learn from Vriska and learn what to kind of avoid to pursue the relationship she wants, and not in a I'm not going to support you way, but just Like, I'm not going to try to meddle and fix all your problems for you or anything like that. And I just love how she has a type of, like, this person's probably kind of dangerous to the whole session, but they're also extremely powerful. Yeah, crush on her. So that's very funny to me. And yeah, I just really love Kanaya a whole lot. Welcome back to Jax Does Homestuck, Gaystuck Edition. I am Jackie, or Jax, and today we're going to be talking about Vriska. There's kind of two major gay relationships for Vriska. She has Trezzy and she has Mina. But the times we see her really crush on people is pretty much whenever she knows that they could kick her ass, which I love. Like, whenever she finally has the sort of feelings for Kanaya that Kanaya wanted her to have is when Kanaya just freaking chainsaws Aridin in half. And she likes it when Mina is being all, leadershipy and heiressy. And if they could kick her ass, then that's when Vriska likes them. For the most part, there's some exceptions. So Vriska and Kanaya was just a case of Vriska being clueless as heck. She just, like everyone else, could see that Kanaya liked her, and Vriska just didn't see that. I think she was too caught up in the relationships she felt she was supposed to have that she didn't really pay much attention to Kanaya. So, she felt like she was supposed to follow in his footsteps and have the kismesis with Aridin and have a matespritship with Tavros, that she didn't really think outside of that is kind of my excuse for it. Yeah, and she's just so clueless to it that she doesn't even think that Kanaya had feelings for her whenever she finally realizes that Kanaya got mad about something. She thinks it's because Kanaya liked Tavros and not her, and she's so up on things with like everything else, but whenever it comes to that, she's just so clueless, and it's wonderful and frustrating. And then we have her and Mina, which is kind of a twofold thing, because we have the first version of her slowly come to like Mina. Like, it starts out with like a little bit of flirting and a little bit of like, yeah, we both wish Arania hadn't gone off. And it turns into like, well, we don't really want to mess with anything now. Everything is kind of pointless, so we're just gonna hang out and do whatever. And yeah, so it turns into a relationship there, and that was very cute. I really, really like that, and I really feel sorry for that Vriska at the end of that relationship. But yeah, and then it goes to the other Vriska, who still gets hard eyes for Mina. The circuit girls just can't resist Mina, I guess. And Mina can't resist circuit girls, is what this comes down to. And then we have Vriska and Trezzy. And while they definitely have a great moral allegiance, I do feel like there's something there for a matespritship. And it's just difficult, because I know that More Allegiance is a romantic relationship for trolls, but I do just feel like there's some red feelings there, whether they want to admit it or not. Like, the way it ends for dead Vriska, seeing Trezzy and holding her hand, and it's just very, very sweet and very fulfilling. And, Trezzy running off and trying to find Vriska no matter what, it's fantastic. I'm a big Visrezi shipper, and I just really love their relationship and how, even at the beginning, even when we're in Hivebent, Vriska is like, maybe not flirting, but just being like, hey, remember when you were so awesome at like destroying people without even lifting a finger, by just with politics and everything else? Like, she loves that. Again, going back to kind of like people who could probably kick her ass. I just really love their relationship, how it kind of it kind of encompasses a lot of the different quadrants, because, for a while they seem to be a black rom thing, but then they're a more allegiance at the end, and then again, I just feel like there's some potential there for matespritship. Yeah, I just really like Vriska, and I really like Terezi, and I really like them together. Yeah, that's kind of my overview of Vriska. I do just want to end with my one controversial Homestuck opinion, and that is that I headcanon Vriska as bisexual and not as a lesbian. So that's that. So yeah, that's my take. Hi, welcome back to Jax Does Homestuck. This is Jackie, or Jax, and we're still on Gaystuck, and today we're going to be talking about Dirk. I feel like I've been hyping this episode up a lot, especially, whenever I was still doing the main part of Gaystuck and talking about Dirk. It was like, oh yeah, I'll talk about this more, like, whenever I get to Dirk's episode, and da-da-da-da-da. And I really don't feel I have a whole lot more to say outside of Dirk is gay, and I love it. And even if he doesn't like being called gay, he is a dude who likes dudes, and he's just allowed to be a dude who likes dudes on a strictly dude-only basis. And it's fantastic, and I love him so much, and I love the commentary of how in the future, which is probably because, the Condis fucked over humanity, but in the future, like, there's no need for the label of, like, gay or anything like that. It's just, like, a thing. Really, a lot of what I love about Dirk is beyond, like, just analyzing him from a gay standpoint, but I do love how overdramatic he can be with his courting of Jake, and I really love so much about Dirk. Yeah, I think it's really interesting how he feels, because he feels so much. He thinks about feeling so much, which is why I really relate to him as a heart player, and he's kind of what helped me, like, really cement the idea I'm definitely a heart player. Like, he feels so bad about Roxy and not being able to give her the life or the relationship he feels she deserves, but he has to stay true to himself, like, first and foremost, and that self is someone who's only into dudes. And he cares so much about that, and I'm not saying that, like, it's right that he should feel bad about not being able to give that, but he cares a lot. He cares too much. He's kind of over obsessing about how much he cares, because it's probably not healthy for him to feel that badly about not being able to give Roxy that, or really feel that way at all. And it's fantastic. And I really wish I had that conversation, that we got to read that conversation between Dirk and Dave whenever Dave basically asks how to come out to his friends. Man, I wrote, like, my own little, like, super tiny mini-fic on it, which now that I read back on it, I'm like, oh, wait, I kind of got this wrong, because it really does seem like Jane had no idea that Dirk was gay until the very last second. But besides that, I had to explore my own little thing of that. And yeah, I just really wish I could have seen how that conversation went, and, how did Dirk tell his friends? Did it just come up? Was it just a thing? Because he's just so solidly sure of himself, and we need more of the human characters to be like that. Rose is kind of close, but she never really discusses it or anything. It's just seems like something she falls into. I mean, if you listen to my Rose episode, that's not quite how I feel on this subject. But there's no really talk about Rose or Rose's sexuality, which is good in its own right. But I really, really like Dirk and the portrayal of him as a dude who likes dudes. And I really hope that he and Dave are able to have, like, a great relationship and hash things out. And I really hope that conversation went really well for both of them.
Thank you to Dami for composing the theme song and editing the episode. You can find more of her work at soundcloud.com/dominothief. Shout out to our Fakest Fan tier supporters, Danny the Spoon Lord and Tezrak. You can become a supporter and receive early episodes and bonus content for as little as $1 a month over at ko-fi.com/jaxyax, or simply give a one-time tip. For information on and links to my other projects, head over to jaxyax.com. Thanks again for listening.